Mummy loves you.
So much.
My lucky mummy.
Yes, Mummy.
Hi, this is Vicky of SingleMotherAhoy.com and you're listening to my podcast. Thank you very much. This week's podcast is about being self-employed. I've been self-employed now for a little over a year. I just thought I'd kind of share some of the things I've picked up along the way. When you start a new job, at the very least, you get a handbook or something. I've started jobs before where you have 3 or 4 days of induction before you ever start doing any work. At the very least, somebody kind of sits with you and says, this is how the phones work and the fire door's over there. When you're self-employed, you kind of go onto the HM Revenue and Customs website, declare that you're self-employed, and they just send you a number and go, great, here's your number, you're self-employed, we'll be back in April, we're going to want loads of money off you, good luck. They don't even say good luck, actually, do they? Anyway, so you don't really get any sort of handbook when you're self-employed, really. There's all sorts of information out there. There's all sorts of blogs and websites and everything, and there are clubs that you can join. But I find a lot of that information, for me, when I started out, you could find one blog post telling you really need to do it this way, and another one saying you really need to do it that way. I'm just going to tell you the things that I found that I really need to do. So, the first thing I think is most important is to treat it like a job. When I first went self-employed, I'd been struggling trying to get into an office and be in an office for however many hours every day, and then come home and look after my child, make sure there was food on the table and clean clothes for the morning and there were enough nappies and all that business. When I first went self-employed, it was like, great, I can go shopping whenever I want and I can go for long lunches with my friends and I can watch telly in the daytime. That lasted about a week before I realised actually, you do need to do some work. There's definitely more motivation there when you're self-employed because every hour of work that you do is an hour of money that goes into your pocket. Obviously, when you work in an office, you just have to turn up for 7 hours and you tend to get a salary or 7 hours pay. You tend to work harder when you're self-employed purely because it is your money, it's your time. Especially being a single mother, I do work really hard. I try very hard, but at the very beginning, it was just like, I'm free to do what I want. And it is flexible. It's very flexible. That's why I decided to stick with it and try and build myself up a business, is because it fits really well around whatever else is going on in your life. So, if Samara's nursery is closed for 2 weeks, I can kind of change my work around. I can work really hard beforehand and make sure I've got 2 weeks off to spend with her and maybe only do a bit of work here and there in the evenings. Or I can, go into stay and play at nursery and things like that, which is great, but you do really need to treat it like a job. I know a guy locally to me, he's a very successful photographer, he has his own studio now, but every morning that he gets up and goes to work, he puts on a shirt and tie, which you might think is ridiculous, being a photographer, being as, I don't know about you, but if I was going into a photography studio, I wouldn't really care what the photographer was wearing. But for him, he says that dressing smartly reminds him, it puts him in that right frame of mind for going and doing work, for being at work. And I think that's really handy. I know sometimes I've sat here and thought, I've dropped Samara at nursery and thought I could just put my pyjamas on and snuggle up on the sofa for the day and do my work like that. But you kind of think, like a dress down day at work, or do you remember non-uniform day at school? Nothing ever got done, did it? It really, changed the whole atmosphere of the school if we were all running around in our jeans instead of smart uniforms. So it does make a difference, and it's something to bear in mind, I think. The other thing is schedule, plan, make lists, do what you need to do to make sure that everything's done in a good time frame. I am just one person working mostly out of my living room or a coffee shop. I need to offer my clients fantastic service, which means that if they say to me, can you do this? Oh, I really need it by tomorrow. I need to get it done. So I need to make sure I'm on top of everything else all the time. I try and make sure that everything's done in good time so that I'm not working. I do work evenings and weekends, but I don't like to, so I try and avoid it as much as possible. So what I tend to do is make lists. I use a diary. I write down everything that needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and try and work through my list as much as possible. I know other people use kind of web apps like Trello is quite good for making lists and keeping track of things, or Asana is good for organising your emails. If you get a lot of work in through email, that's quite handy. For me, I find pen and paper, but, that's just me. The second tip is about networking. I thought when I first started out, I've got clients kind of all over the country. I've got one client who's based in Italy. And although I have met her, she lives in Italy. I don't have meetings with her very, very regularly. Sometimes she'll phone me, mostly she emails me. I thought I didn't really need to to network, and the idea of it frankly scared me because I thought I'd need a brightly coloured power suit and a matching handbag and shiny heels, and actually you don't. Actually, a lot of networking events are quite informal. You just kind of rock up, and the other thing to remember really with networking is it's not about, I thought you kind of had to turn up, find the one person in the room who's looking for your service, hand them your business card, give them your spiel, and move on to the next one. It's not about that at all. When you go to networking events, it helps to think of it not as kind of who can I find to pitch to, but chatting to people, and if you think you can help somebody, to use it in that kind of framework of, oh, I think I can help you with this, here's my card, rather than kind of trying to push anything into people. I find that easy because I don't like to do the whole selling yourself business. The other thing about networking is it's not about that kind of initial thing. So it's better to go, I find I get more out of networking if I go to an event and just chat to people and try to be friendly. It's about getting your face out there so that people know who you are, so that if a job comes up, I really need a plumber, that somebody else will say, somebody that you've met at a networking event will go, I know a plumber and he's really good. Obviously I'm not a plumber, but that kind of thing. So it's that side of things. There are a lot of great free networking events out there. You don't have to pay to go to networking. There are loads of free stuff. If you're in Wiltshire, I would definitely recommend looking at the Enterprise Network. They're fantastic. They have loads of free events. Last week I went to an event that was a talk by Laura Tennyson, MBE, who set up JoJo's, who I think all parents are aware of JoJo's. It was a really inspirational and interesting talk. I went to a talk by Doug Richards from Dragon's Den a few weeks ago. That was really interesting. They put on loads of free things. There's free tea and coffee, always a bonus. Sometimes there's cake. And they have drop-in networking sessions. But also, I went to see a lady there in January and had some free business advice, a free hour where she looked over what I was doing, gave me loads of great advice, great tips, told me, I think maybe if you speak to this person, you should speak to that person. Really, really handy, useful information. And it was all free. You don't have to pay for a lot of this stuff. You just need to find where the free stuff is. Networking events, similarly, you can pay to join a networking club. There are business breakfasts, business brunches, lunches, evening do's, all sorts. I'm in the process of setting up something called Lighthouse with a couple of friends, which if you're in Salisbury, definitely take a look. It's about we're calling it retro networking. Back in ye olden days where you used to go to the pub after work and you'd know everybody in there and you'd go, oh, I need a plumber, or I need a carpenter, do you know anybody? And everyone would go, oh, this guy's really good. And it's that kind of thing, kind of laid back, chatting, making friends, building a network rather than kind of pointy elbows and shoving your way through. We're going to be giving out, useful information and having little presentations and talks as well. So if you're in the Salisbury area, look out for that. If you're in Wiltshire, look out for the Enterprise Network. Wherever you are, look for your local Chamber of Commerce. You might find that they do all sorts of events. It's definitely worth. No man is an island, as they say. Even if you don't think you can ever get any work out of it, it's always handy to know local businesses anyway, I think. The next point is, don't let on, by which I mean I'm a single mother. I work out of my living room. There's a pile of crap next to me on the sofa. Quite often I'm in the middle of a packet of digestive biscuits while I'm writing your blog post for you. My clients don't know that. They don't need to know that. One thing that when I had my business advice meeting, she advised me to separate my personal blog from my business. Not, because there's anything wrong with my blog, but because you're putting forward a professional persona. Certainly first impressions do count, whether you like it or not, and it's important to have that. So instead of saying, I can't come and meet you tomorrow because Johnny's got his school play, you just say, well, I can't make tomorrow, but can you do next Tuesday? You don't say, oh no, I'm going on a family holiday that week. You say, I'm taking annual leave that week. If the client says to you, oh, what are you up to that day? Then by all means answer truthfully. Don't lie, but don't kind of set yourself up as being, I can't do that day because I've got childcare issues and all this. It gives a certain impression. Whether we like it or not, it does give an impression. The next top tip is about your accounts and bookkeeping. By all means, give your bookkeeping to an accountant to do and pay them to do it. Take the weight completely out of your hands. By all means do that, but don't be scared to do it yourself. It's not something to be frightened of. I think it's great to be able to keep a hold on your accounts, certainly when you're quite a small company or if you're just one person, it's really great to just be able to do it all yourself and know exactly where you are at any given point, whether you're profitable, where you're invoicing, where your money's going. You don't need to be some sort of accountant whiz. You can get other people to show you how to do stuff if you're not sure. There's some great software and some great websites out there that can help you. By all means, get an accountant or other professional to do your online return for you. I get somebody else to do my online return for me because I just don't like the website. By all means, be scared of revenue and customs. That's what they're there for. But don't be scared of keeping track of your books yourself. I keep a set of plastic document wallets, the ones with the poppers on. I have one for each month, and when I spend money, I get my receipts and I put them all into that folder. And then at the end of the month, not every month because I'm a little bit rubbish, but you've got your pile of receipts and you go through, I put them onto a system. I use a website called Accounts Portal, which costs me £12 a month. It sends out very professional looking PDF invoices to my clients. I can track money coming back in. I can track where my expenses are going. I can probably do a lot more with it than I do with it, but I just use it for the basics. If you're a slightly bigger company or are planning to be a bigger company, something like Sage can be really fantastic for things like that. Sage gives you a lot of reporting, a bank rec, all of this business. It's really good. But realistically, you don't need either of those. You can get away with just using a spreadsheet. It's not about kind of bells and whistles with this. You just need to know where you spent your money. You need to have figures to put into your tax return at the end of the year. So the one top tip, if you take one thing away from this podcast, the best thing that you can do, if you spend money on your business, get a receipt. Whatever you do, get a receipt. And when you get your receipt, have a look at it. And if it is not immediately clear exactly what you've bought and why, get a pen out and write it on the top while it's still fresh in your mind. Because if you're giving your receipts to an accountant or bookkeeper to do your books for you, then they don't work in your business. They don't know, oh yeah, last Friday I had to go and buy new tyres for the van. They don't know that. They see a receipt and they're not sure what it's for and they have to guess or they have to phone you up. It takes time. Time costs money. And if you're doing it yourself, a month later, you might not remember what you spent that £10 on. It's really easy to forget things. Don't rely on your memory. Write it down, write it on the receipt, and keep a track of everything. If you don't know how to set up a spreadsheet for your bookkeeping, then get somebody to help you. Find somebody who knows. Swap with them. I'll do this for you, you do this for me, I'll teach you this, you can teach me that. Brilliant. Just do what you need to do, but don't be scared of any of it by any means. I think it's fantastic if you can just do it yourself and learn how to do it yourself. It's empowering to be able to do that, I think. My last top tip is to still be sociable. Being a freelancer, being self-employed, especially as a single mother, I don't have anybody coming home in the evening from their job and asking me how my day was. I don't really have anybody on a day-to-day basis going, so how are things going? I have to go out and find somebody to have a conversation with. So I don't exactly wander down the street going, please talk to me. Although I might do that because I live on quite a busy road. It's about kind of saying to yourself, right, okay, well, I'm still a person. I'll go and talk to people. So networking events, go and just chat. Go and chat to people. This Christmas, realised I wouldn't be having a Christmas do because, I'm one person. So I got together with some other self-employed friends and we had our own Christmas meal. We organised our own Christmas meal. Some networking events take place in the evening in a pub or a restaurant. I went to one last week in a curry house. Again, that's not about networking so much as just being sociable with like-minded individuals, people who are self-employed and in business locally. It's just nice to be sociable, but it helps with the kind of solitary side of being a freelancer, of being there on your own, is to go to events and things. And also with getting your face out there, again, being sociable, it's quite handy. So those are my top tips for being self-employed and a freelancer. I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope you found it useful. I would love to hear what you think. If you found this at all interesting, do please let me know. If you've enjoyed it, do please tell your friends and share it with everybody. Of course, I would love for you to share this. If you have any feedback, if there's something you liked, didn't like, do please let me know. Be nice, though. Always be nice. And I will be back here again next week with another podcast. Thank you for listening.
Touch me, Mummy. Touch me, Mummy. Touch me, Mummy.